Welcome to the most forward-thinking, inspirational podcast on the planet. Prepare to reevaluate everything you've been taught and get ready to launch your mind into an entirely new reality. If you've always felt there had to be more to life, more to existence, then you're listening to the right podcast. Get comfortable, pour yourself a drink, sit back, and let your host, Adam R. Walton, expand your horizons. This is going to be good. This is going to be fun. This is going to be mind-bending. Time to think.
And here we go.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Mental Mastery Alliance podcast. It's been a crazy couple of days. It's been a good one. We just did a few swap casts. We've been sort of all over the place. I've been guesting on a few shows. This show hasn't been recorded, specifically this show, for about 2 or 3 weeks. So we're coming back in. We're coming back in hot. We're coming back in with an old friend, a friend of the show, a friend of the family, just a friendly guy. You've seen him before. I've promoted him. I've talked about him. Everybody knows who he is. Brandon Hanley, welcome back to the show.
Adam, man, thanks for having me on, man. It has been a minute, right? We connected, I think, a couple months back on Instagram. And I hit you up from my Spiritual Dope Instagram, and you were like, "Whoa, I didn't even know that was you, man." Because I turned around and I just pivoted into a new space, and happy to connect.
Yeah, you did do a pivot. You did a great 180, and this is one thing that I preach a lot to a lot of people, man. Just get out there and keep moving, because you're gonna hit. You're going to hit something that either triggers you or that gets you to where you need to be. Like, there is no false moves when it comes to business, when it comes to acceleration, where we are and what we're doing. And there are a lot of people who are afraid to get started because they don't know where they're going. They don't know what they're doing. They don't know what it looks like. But there are certain places we can't get to unless we travel through other places. That is indicative of the entire world around us right now, and especially what you've been doing. I've watched you jump through multiple iterations, and I've enjoyed every one of them. And your Spiritually Dope podcast, this current iteration of who you are and what you're doing, is real powerful because you are one of the individuals that, when we were talking about, you introduced me to another fellow by the name of Len. And I got a kick out of him, and I enjoyed his content and that sort of stuff. And the term mystic got thrown in there, and a few other people I've spoken with since then. But he was the initial kickoff for me to understand that term. And people have called me a mystic, and I always thought mystic was like the old gypsy you put the quarter in. And can you say gypsy in 2020? I don't know, but it was the old quarter bin that was on the.
Is there a time you can't say it? I don't know.
I don't know what happens, right? I don't know, right? But it's like, it's the thing, you put the quarter in, it spits out the fortune, right?
Right.
But it's not. I mean, in mystic, by definition, I've looked it up and I've spoken on it before, but it would appear that I'm a mystic just simply because of the research that I do and the way things go. And so are you, and that's really cool too, because you have been on this kick, and you and I traveled down the same spirituality road almost at the same time, where we went through what about this religion, what about that religion, what about this, what do you think about this? And you and I, completely uncoerced by each other, were on the same path.
Yeah.
And we, with your new run, I mean, I'm still the Mental Mastery Alliance simply because it ties into so much.
Sure.
And we are an alliance. We are growing every single day. When people call in now, or when they send us emails, like, there's a team of people that are properly replying to this and finding out, who's the best coach to work with on whatever issue it is. And I'm going to be so excited when we start passing people to you as well, because I've said since day one that you had this edge to you, this extra thing that hadn't quite flourished and hadn't quite come out, but was on its way. And I think that you're there. I think that Spiritually Dope is there. I think that it itself is going to grow, but I think that this is where you plant your flag.
Yeah, I appreciate that. It's so funny because I still remember, some of our first conversations, right? Where what gives me the audacity, right, to even kind of step into any space to try and help people along in any way. And when I first took on coaching, I thought that I was the authority in this space, right? When you take on coaching, you're the authority, right? But you're not the authority. You're helping people along, right? And I still remember you saying, when you take on a coaching client, you're not asking them to stick around with you for life. What you're really hoping to do is, pull them up, pull them along, and hopefully catapult them past yourself.
Yes.
Right? Yeah.
That's what you want to do. People get coaching and therapy a little bit mixed up, and even bad coaches are out there being like, I've come across some coaches that are like, you don't want them to get any better than you, and that's such bullshit. A proper coach wants the client to just experience everything, love it all, and at the end of the day, if you can teach somebody so much stuff that they then get more advanced than you can learn from them.
100%.
And that's a beautiful thing. So yeah, when it comes to coaching, and there's so many aspects to coaching. It could be literally anything: sales coaching, business coaching, hockey coaching, baseball coaching, sports. It could be test coaching, how to take tests. I've seen coaches that are resume coaches. These people that they help you build a resume. Their job is a resume coach. This is what the people need on resumes. So every single person that's ever excelled at anything has had a coach. And whether the world wants to admit it or not, I mean, your coach could be the television. Your coach could be whatever. Your coach is whatever's influencing you. Sure. So when you choose, the proper influence, and when you make it proper for you, you do it. And where actual proper coaching comes in real handy is when money changes hands, because now you've committed to yourself, you've committed to your mind, you've committed to the actions, and you've committed to your wallet. And there's
you're invested in yourself. You're invested in yourself. You're invested in yourself. I think that if you don't put that investment in yourself, if you don't put value into what you're receiving, right, then what's the value? So, if I spend money, if I invest money in coaching for myself, I'm investing in myself. If I don't do that, then I inherently I'm saying I don't see value in what I'm receiving, right? And I'm not going to take action on something that I don't see value in.
That's right. That's right. So now that you've come this far, and now that you've traveled down the roads, what do you think about being a mystic? What do you think about that title being applied to you? Because, man, you're low energy right now, and it's getting on my nerves. But you are wicked high energy half the time. So the people that work with you and the people that come to you are getting quite a show. And your knowledge, again, leaps and bounds. You have excelled. So what does it feel like to you to be called a mystic? What does it feel like to you to understand that you are seeking more? And while you answer that, I am going to dig up the definition just so people of this episode.
I was going to say, let's dig into it, because, I don't know that I would call myself a mystic yet. And it's really going to depend on what you come up with in response, right? Based off of this is, and what I've based it off of is a book that I read recently by Carolyn Miss, where she goes through some really awesome archetypes, and there's all kinds of archetypes everywhere, but one of those archetypes was a mystic. And to me, I think a mystic is a master of spirituality, right? Has to me, a mystic is like any like Gandhi could be considered to me a mystic, Buddha, a mystic. Your top tier. No, it's not that I'm not saying I'm not going for those goals, right? But your top tier spiritual leaders to me are mystics. That's all they do. So. What have you got though? Because maybe I'm selling myself short.
I assure you that you're selling yourself short. So the infamous Google definition of mystic is a person who seeks by contemplation and self-surrender to obtain unity with or absorption into the deity or the absolute.
100% then. I mean,
who believes in the spiritual apprehension of truths that are beyond intellect.
For sure. Yeah, man. I mean, that's all day, every day. I mean,
yeah. And that's what I said. When I read this, I'm like, what the frack? I am a mystic. That's when I was like, Jesus. So ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to read that again. A mystic, by definition, is a person who seeks by contemplation and self-surrender to obtain unity with or absorption into the deity, or the absolute, or who believes in the spiritual apprehension of truths that are beyond intellect. In other words, you believe in things that you feel over the intellect or the information that you've taken in.
Here's the thing. The thing is the things that you feel, you can't rightly put into words because words don't do it justice, right? And so that's the big challenge of religion, right? They're like, oh, here's what you do. You go try this. This is your set of rails. If you go down this set of rails, you're gonna splash right into Jesus, right? And everything will be all right. Or no, go down this set of rails, and follow everything from the Quran. And I think it's a nice framework, but it still does not define what you're going to feel in the end. It's indescribable, really. And I think that I've done my best recently in a podcast episode where I've used the word numinous to capture that feeling. And that's Thomas Otto and Carl Jung both refer to this word numinous. And it's really the closest thing, and that's the spiritual connection, right? That's when you feel that spiritual connection. That's when you are deep in it. That's what do we say? You're merged with the deity or the absolute, and through contemplation. And it doesn't really have to be through contemplation. You can feel yourself merging. I just happened to me last week. I went through a transformational coaching session, and the very next day, I felt my spirit, my vibration rising like in my body. And that coaching work, right? That transformational coaching, shit ain't no joke, right? Like, I mean, if I say to you, hey, I want to help you, do some transformational coaching with you to elevate your spirit, to remove blockages so that you can connect, that's real. So the closest thing that, if you've never experienced that, right, would be getting in the states of flow states. And I think that we talked about this before in the book. Flow is like, say, if you're into writing, or even when we're doing the podcast, where you get into a really good run of words until you hit the truth of what you're really going for, you know that you're in a flow state. Or hurdlers. I don't know if I ran track, and it takes a while, but when you finally hit those strides 100% and you're hurdling, you're in a fully connected mind, body, spirit state where nothing else is like bothering you, or I don't want to say bothering you, but there's nothing else there except for that mind, body, spirit connection. And so I'm in, man.
You're going on that.
I'm in. I mean, all I'm saying is, like, so it exists in mysticism for sure, right? So if you're talking about the deity or absolute and emergence of that and mysticism, then absolutely, you could call me mystic.
You had mentioned in there too that if the work is real when you were doing transformational coaching.
Mm-hmm.
The funny thing is, for anyone to say that it's not real, is living in a limited belief and could use some transformational coaching.
Well, they haven't experienced it, right? So if you haven't experienced it, then you don't believe it. That's it's not even seeing it makes it real, because seeing it doesn't, people dismiss it if they see it. They have to experience it themselves in order to have a full understanding and comprehension of it.
Yeah. And this is one of those things where people change, people drastically change. So many of us have had this one friend that just disappeared. And I know now that to a lot of people, I'm that one friend. I'm no longer the guy that I used to be. And there is rapid ascension. There's rapid change. There's triggers that change who you are as a being. And then all kinds of things that sort of happen in your life. But when you sit there and you're on a pivot and you're saying, this can't happen to me. I can't get this. I can't get that. I can't lose weight. I can't quit this. I can't quit drinking. All these things that you say to yourself are true. So be careful what you say to yourself, and understand that where you are based solely on everything that you've done. And if you're not where you want to be, then you have to learn how to get to where you need to be by adding information that you don't currently have. So that's where you circle around and you find people that are doing things that you want to do.
For sure.
And you change your mindset. You change your mindset along the way.
I think one of the things you said in there though, Adam, is like, you know, you have to get clear on who you want to be, right? There has to be some clarity on who you want to be. Otherwise, you know, if you're just, you know, trying to get better for the sake of getting better, where are you going with that, right? Like, what are you trying to achieve with it? And I'm not trying to, and it's not even like, what are you trying to achieve? Like, what do you want to feel? You know, when you walk through the door, what do you want to feel? Who do you want to feel that as? I know it sounds kind of, it's coming out clunky, but
a little bit,
yeah,
but I get it.
Who do you want to be? And
to answer that question too, or not answer that question, but to shed a little bit of light on that. There's a lot of people that don't know. You can't possibly know who you want to be by not getting there right at the gate. So again, that's a limiting belief on people's minds that are saying, you know, I don't know where I'm going to go, so it's going to be too hard. And to put into perspective my path on what you're talking about, I didn't know who I wanted to be. I just knew who I no longer wanted to be. So when you can say, I don't want to be this guy anymore, or I don't want to do this anymore, or I'm fed up with this, I'm sick of being unhealthy, I'm sick of drinking, I'm sick of whatever it is. When you don't want to be that guy anymore, that's enough to say, I'm going to start doing things. And then you find out who you're going to be. The whole purpose of life is to find out who you're going to be, who you're going to turn into.
Sure. Yeah. And Look, I love that too, right? Because you have no idea, right? You have no idea. 3 years ago, I mean, we've only known each other for like 3 years, like right around 3 years, right? In 3 years though, this is my third podcast, and the person I've become has gone through multiple iterations throughout that time. And each iteration is beyond what I thought was possible for myself, or beyond where I thought I'd ever see myself.
It's possible. I mean, going back, I can't believe it's been 3. It feels more like 4 or 5 years, but was it 2017?
2017, man. Beginning of 2017. So maybe we're like, 3.5.
Yeah, that's crazy, because it was 2017 that I quit everything and really, really, really hammered down where I was going. But yeah, okay, so you say that you've gone leaps and bounds past where you could be. And at that time, ladies and gentlemen, I was coaching for another individual, and Brandon had come into the program, and I saw in him excellence. And it sounds campy, sure, but my job is to spot talent at the time in people that are going to make a difference, people that are going to make an impact. You didn't see it in yourself. And it's funny to hear you say that you're now where you never thought you could be. And I see you as somebody who's just getting started as to where you're going.
Look, I mean, 100%, but that's the thing, right? This is the expansion, right? The self-expansion, if you want to, kind of bridge into it. And if you think about even like metal before it becomes foil, it keeps expanding. And the more you hammer it out, it expands further and further. There's always more room to grow beyond, but that's the joy. I mean, that's the joy of growth, right? You're not, when I say I'm beyond where I thought I'd ever see myself, that's true. But where I see myself going is still beyond, right? Greater and further,
Perfect.
It's just still, and right now though, what has changed for me is the hustle and grind aspect, the forcing it aspect has totally changed for me. Where when I first started, it was like everything has to happen this way, and I was forcing it, and it wasn't, I wasn't comfortable, but I was growing, and of course, there's always like that's where you find growth, is in discomfort. But
very true.
But it wasn't true to myself, right? There were pieces missing, and it was kind of like I was running out and gathering them in a frenzied state. Now, I'm in a state of becoming, right, versus a state of doing. I'm a human being that is expanding, that is in the process of surrendering, right? That we talked about, and a process of expansion, a process of continuously connecting to and with source, and loving it and letting go, and it's fucking amazing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, I'm 100% on that same tip. The idea that, you know, forcing it, trying to do all this sort of stuff. One thing I do miss is you used to do those video blogs while you were driving.
We haven't been driving anywhere. I miss them too.
That's true. And as I was thinking that when you were talking, I'm like, fuck, it's probably COVID that stopped it. What, how has, in your spiritual journey and in your growth,
Mm-hmm.
how has COVID impacted you?
It's been beautiful, man. It's been awesome. You know, there's, you know, look, there's also been frustration, but that is part of the growth, you know, understanding and paying attention to the frustration. What is it about this moment that's making me frustrated, and being able to be cognizant of that, and then saying, all right, well, you know, what else could I be doing so I'm not frustrated in this moment? Or how else could I be looking at this so I'm not frustrated in this moment? I spun up Spiritual Dope because of this. I've connected with so many people in this space because of this. My family has gotten closer. We've, you know, together. We've broken out of the school system. I'm so excited for that. My wife quit her job. I'm so excited for her, you know, to break out of you know, the ultra conservative traditional space, and what it's bringing to her and what it's bringing for us, and potential for what's next for us, right? Getting the opportunity to see my children learn in a different way that's actual education versus you know, rote learning, right? Rote memorization, and being trained to be factory workers. I want to train these, you know, these children to, you know, think for themselves and be self-starters and help each other out. That's been part of all the growth. And without COVID, none of that happens, dude.
No, it's true. It's true. And a lot of people are in a spot right now where they're like, you know, I know some friends that are like, I know people that have died of COVID. I'm not knocking this. I'm not denouncing COVID. But the numbers and the panic that they've created are atrocious. They're all lies too. So yes, people die of COVID. Yes, people die of the flu. Yes, people die. That's the way she goes. But the hysteria that went in behind it, you brought up a huge point as well, which is the kids in school are not taught education. They're not taught to learn. They're not taught anything. They are fed a story, and they are taught to memorize that story. Mm-hmm. And they are tested on their ability to memorize things, not to think for themselves.
Let me tell you, I didn't do so well in school, you know, like, because of course, you know, many years later, I'm like, well, because I just obviously vibrationally, I knew it just wasn't for me, right? And that's not the case, but but was it the case? You know,
I tell the same story. It's true.
I just never felt compelled to want to excel in that space just because everybody else was, you know, trying to be teacher's pet or trying to do that thing. And I never, you know, wanted, you know, all the same ways and things that everybody else did. And, you know, so I felt like an outsider, but, you know, years later, and I'm like, thank God, you know, thank God that I spent some time, dude, I spent my 20s partying, like literally. I just, because early 20s, you know, 20 and 21, I was in a, you know, Fortune 500 company doing really well. But everybody was walking around this company, you know, in between the tweed walls, like zombies, dude. And I was like, you know what? If that's the end game, I don't need to fucking start right here. You know, I can go and enjoy my youth.
Yeah.
Right. Go enjoy my youth. Yeah, I'm like, you know, I'm going to go enjoy it. I'm not going to squander it here, in this, and, you know, again, was I vibrationally aligned? Dude, I don't know, but shit just wasn't for me.
Your whole life you are. I mean, I like I said before, I saw it in you, and
Mhm.
I'm not saying anything other than the fact that, people find their own. Water finds its own level. People find their own business. They find their own people.
Yeah.
And you came across the same way. And again, I growing up, I was an outsider. Hell, even to this day, I still have, for the longest time. Well, I mean, I'm opinionated. I don't know if my listeners are aware of this or not, but I have some theories. So I have people that are like, man, you're so stupid. Stay off the QAnon pages. And right. And I laugh at this sort of stuff because I'm like, the only reason you say this stuff is because you've heard somewhere that this guy's pushing a thing. Right. And all the people out there that for so long I thought that I had to be quiet about who I was because I didn't want to ruffle the feathers of the powers that be.
Right.
And of the norm. And I couldn't find my place in this. And then the COVID showed up and really, really started waking people up, like next level waking people up. And you also come to the point where you can't help everyone, obviously. So you have to pick and choose who you're going to help, what you're going to do, and how you're going to move forward with it.
Right.
Life is coming at us. The numbers that they gave us with COVID are all bullshit. The pandemic is fake. Yes, people die of COVID, but the pandemic itself is fake. And it's a peculiar time because people are like up in arms about this, but I can honestly say that every single person that I've spoken to or that I'm hands-on with, i.e. yourself, every single person I've asked them about the COVID, they're like, yeah, it's been great. Every person I know, it's benefited each person. Right. So we've got this whole system where we're like, I don't like it. I don't, it's not what it was. I'm anti things. I'm anti change. I'm anti this. I'm anti that. But when you really dig down, when you really dive down, people are less stressed, and then you'll hear stories. All you hear is stories. I know a guy. I heard a guy. I saw a guy. People are losing their houses, right? Everyone's just talking into the drama. But when you separate yourself from the herd, every single individual listening to this podcast right now, when you separate yourself from the herd and you ask yourself, has this benefited me? Am I able to change? If you're listening to this podcast, I'm assuming that you are on a certain frequency as well. And that is one of those things that can't be taken away. I don't think that there are people listening to this to shit on me, but if you're out there, by all means, send us an email, info@the-mental-mastery-alliance. I'll read them. And I'm not here to offend. And if you are offended, why are you offended? When I talk about COVID, but when I talk about growth, it's almost like being proud of yourself and being proud of your achievements is a bad idea in today's day and age, because we should feel guilty about being okay with what's going on. And I feel that with regards to mysticism and that sort of thing, I feel that we're tapping into source on a grand scale.
100%.
I feel that the majority of the world right now, or at least the majority of my influence, if you're not tapped into this, if you're still worried about everything, if you're like, I have to wear a face mask and disinfect my mind, blah, 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 like, what are you doing? What are you actually doing? Are you sitting there watching CNN, in your robe, eating popcorn? Like,
I love popcorn.
It's delicious. But, I like, what's the story here? Are we disassociated from self and we're connected to theory? Do we know who we are? If the pain isn't there, do we know who we are? There are so many things that go into this world, and they tie into each and every individual. So as you grow and as COVID takes place, like, you needed to pull back. You specifically needed to pull back and to regroup and to tie your family unit in together and to move forward. Right. And you weren't going to get that opportunity unless something like this took place.
Yeah, man. The way that it's panning out, like, look, look, did we panic? Absolutely. Did we stockpile, resources? Yeah, but only, to the extent of, maybe we had to, if it was all going to go down, we had 5 more weeks to live than the next person, right? But I'm not going to sit there and say that we didn't react to some of these things. But at the same time, we still gelled, right? We came together and we're like, you know what? This is a situation. How do we want to change our lives because of what the prevailing conditions are, right? If the prevailing conditions are going to exist in this manner, for ad infinitum, right? Then this is what we think we should do.
Yeah.
And those are the changes that we made. And we have, as a collective, been happier. We have, like I said, just been closer. And again, the growth has been amazing, man. And separation from that anxiety too, from that pressure, by accepting it, by surrendering to it, like we talked about earlier, right? Like by saying, and you'd said, this is what the situation is. What are we going to do?
Mm-hmm.
You can't complain about it. You complain it, you're not doing anything about it. And you can't change it. So what do you want to do to have a great life? And just start doing that. I mean, it's really that simple.
Yeah.
Right. It's already there. I mean, I think about the things too. Like, look, we bitch about where we live, but at the same time, I go for my morning walks and I'm chilling out, and I'm
Wait a minute. What are you doing bitching about where you live? Didn't you just move into an amazing house with chickens?
Yeah, it's pretty cool. The chickens are new. They came with COVID. They didn't come with COVID, but they
These chickens come with COVID.
You're welcome. Yeah, we did, but we moved for work, right? And this has all been part of my learning experience, right? Like I followed money and ended up in a place where like I wasn't super thrilled. But when I think about it, I think to myself, I'm like, well, what is somewhere else that I don't have here, right? And I think that to myself, and I think that I'm like, nothing. There's nothing that I don't have here that is over there, or vice versa. It's just my state of being, and it ends up being a preference. Mm-hmm. So just recognizing that, I think, within yourself, right?
It has to be.
But recognizing that, if you stop and think to yourself, like, why do I want to get to this other point or place in my life, other than and that people can do this though too. Like, well, spirit's pulling me. Spirit might be pulling me, but if you think about it, what's where you want to go that you don't have where you are now?
Well, this started out with regards to your house. The spirit can pull you wherever it wants to pull you, and you can go. Mm-hmm. But when it comes to the statement was, you were upset with your house. I think it was location.
Bitching about where we are. Yeah.
Yeah. But I've seen your videos.
Yeah.
I like where you are. Like, I think it's awesome. Neat.
That's very cool.
And honestly, now again with the COVID and everything like that, people aren't traveling. People aren't going anywhere. People aren't doing anything. So if you need somebody, hit them up on Zoom, man. Here we are. Here. I'm in Canada, bro. You're somewhere in the South. So it's an interesting time to just connect with people. And you find that no matter where you are and what you're doing, if you're on your path and if you're on your journey, people are going to reach out to you. People are going to connect to you. I think the other thing, like I was just saying to you before we went live, that I got to connect with Sam Tripoli, which isn't a big deal, to the world. He's not a big whatever, but to me, he's neat. It's a neat thing. Right. I enjoy his show. I enjoy the entertainment. It was fun to be on the show.
Right.
But when you understand how manifestation works, you're like, fuck, you put that stuff together. So your thing, like I'm saying to myself time and time again, Brandon Hanley keeps popping up. And then like you went MIA because you changed courses. And then I kept seeing your logo everywhere, not everywhere, but I kept seeing it, it's stuck in the back of my head. And then another one of my clients said, "Is this Brandon?" I said, "I don't know." And then I reached out or connected with you. I'm like, fuck, it is Brandon. Like, no wonder I see this guy everywhere. So it's interesting to see, like, because you're quietly moving, you're quietly taking the steps, you're quietly being pulled by the spirit. I did air quotes there, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah. Look. It's feeling it forward, right? I think that's something people say. You just feeling my way forward. And I'm very grateful to be leading with spirituality, mm-hmm. which the iteration went from fatherhood for the rest of us, serving fatherhood and serving dads. But I felt like I felt like there was something else that I was learning in that space that I could teach others, right? Mm-hmm. And that led into the prosperity practice, which was very, law of attraction, very Neville Goddard based. Right. You and I are buddies on Neville Goddard.
Oh, for sure.
But and New Ageism, I guess. But that's spirituality. And I felt like I just wasn't being true to how I was leading. And I was like, you know what? feel that I want to lead with spirituality. Just very similar to what you had said, was you were afraid that people were gonna be outraged or whatever if you started speaking your truth, right?
Yep.
Right. And so did I. I felt like people weren't going to accept, if I was just speaking my truth, and my truth is, joining up with source all the time, right? Surrendering, not forcing things, following bliss. And I'm not saying, be a whiny bitch or any of that other stuff. It's there's some grit to spirituality, right? Like spirituality isn't like this.
You gotta have balls. You gotta have balls to dive into it, because it goes against everything you've ever been taught in your entire life. Not only that, but it even goes against the people that are saying, like, how many times have you heard the term New Age is satanic? So like they are grinding out on everything. So and I don't even like the term New Age, because it's not
I don't
New
like
Age.
It. It's a past 100 years, right? But it's what it teaches.
No, it's not. It's not even that, because that's the story in and of itself as well. Like what's happening right now. And I've had these conversations because I did go through, I did not go through Catholicism. That is fucking Satanism flat out. If you're a Catholic, you worship the devil. And if you don't see that, fuck, that's crazy. Now, regardless, Christianity, I went through the Christianity. I went really hard into it because I wanted it to be something. Now, what did I come away with? I came away with great story, great community, and great people, but I also understood that they're just as judgmental as anybody else.
Sure.
The people in this open community. Now, also, I've had some friends that are really heavy into it, and they've attacked me on the fact that you're not going by the word of Jesus. I'm saying to you guys, literally every single thing that we do in this world and in this reality, every single thing that takes place, and when it's all said and done, you can wrap the whole sucker up into one word. It was one single experience. Now, that being said, it's not like it was 100 years ago that this was invented. You and I aren't tapping into anything. I don't know if you've done much work with the Buddha, but it's like Buddhism is 100% where you and I would have clicked into Buddhism, right?
Yeah.
And
let me give a little kicker there. So just in the month of September, Saturday evenings, if you go over to Spiritual Dope on Facebook, I've got a Buddhist reverend doing introductory Buddhism for the first month. So check it out in September. Yeah.
Go in September?
Yep.
It's on your Facebook?
It's on my Facebook Spiritual Dope page. Yep.
That link will be in the description of this episode as well, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah.
So definitely check that out.
100% agreed, right? Like, I mean, look, Buddhism and listen, man, Hinduism, Vedanta, man, just that shit rocks rocks my world. So now all of these things they exist. I mean, we can't deny that they exist. Yeah. They've been around for as long as they've been around, but that's also the story.
So there is no thing that we're doing that's any one thing that isn't the other thing.
I think that what's new agey, air quotes and shit, is that the kernel of truth has been, reseeded or, revisited. Because, if you talk about your open community of Christianity, if you talk about, Catholicism, if you talk about all these other things, they initially started with a kernel of truth and intent, right? That got lost over time. And then everybody said, all right, well, this stuff is all literal. Well, you're missing, what are these stories about, and how do they impact you today? And how are they hitting your truth gong? Right. Where is it? Where is the truth in this? And if you can't, and that's, look, that's no pearls before swine, right? That's the whole thing right there. In a nutshell, if you're trying to cast out this wisdom before people who aren't ready for it, they're not going to accept it. But if you keep hammering it into them that they must know and they must learn this stuff, just like education in school, right? They're going to be like, okay, it was beat literally into me that I had to learn this. And so I'm going to beat it into you, and it's got to be done just this way. And they didn't understand what we're talking about here, going back to, immersion into, deity or absolute, the source, and they may not have been ready for it, right? And
I've said that 1,000 times. I mean, you ask a scientist, how the hell does water bend? right?
Dude,
Back to that.
Listen,
state, so.
look, I'll go all the way back to what's the thing that makes you alive? You don't even know how to fuck you're alive. So who are you to go start running off telling everybody how the world is?
Yeah, 100%. We haven't figured out how how anything, and then the world that we live in, the information that we're given, we're given it specifically to wake us up. The world has to be a pile of shit, because without it being a pile of shit, we don't wake up. Because everything's rosy.
I differ. So here I differ, right? So this also comes from Alan Watts, right? If you look at the world as in needing to be fixed, then the world will always need to be fixed, right? So, but the way I see it is, the world is exactly what I need it to be for me to become.
Yes, 100%. I agree with that. 100.
So the world's perfect the way that it is. It might not be perfect, in like I don't even know what sense, but if you take a look at yourself and ask yourself, what do you need to become? Everything that you need to become is right around you right now. So the world is perfect. Yes.
Yeah. And when I say the world is shit, when you said we differ, we don't differ. We're speaking the exact same language. And the when I say the world is shit, like the painful parts of the world exist so that we wake up. If everything was roses, we wouldn't wake up. So the world is exactly as it's to be for us to see. 100%.
Sure. Yeah.
100%. And that, that sounds new agey, right? But new agey is only a label that other people put on things to detract you from doing things. But then you realize that you created the other people to screw your own thought process up in the sense of, how do I learn to do what with on my own? Now that was a convoluted statement.
But the idea is, right, that everybody's just a reflection of ourselves, right? I can't understand you, Adam Walton, through anything other than my own experience and knowledge, right? So you are a reflection of all that I know.
Mm-hmm. Yes. And that's a great one too, because every single person, there is no two versions of you. You are a different version in everybody's head that's ever seen you, because you are reflective of what they have experienced.
100%.
And that's a neat thing. And you know what? We are short on time, so I think that would be a great way to leave it off as well. Everybody, ladies and gentlemen, the image that you're trying to maintain of yourself for other people doesn't exist.
Stop it.
Yeah, it ain't you. There is a different version of you inside every single individual's head that has ever met you. So whoever you think you're trying to be, that's only for you. So make sure that whoever that person is, you're happy with him or her. Where can the people find you?
Look, just head to spiritualdope.co.
Okay. That'll be in the description as well.
That's it.
Did you have any parting words?
Nah, man. Look, I always appreciate our conversations, Adam. I love the journey that you're on. Right. We've connected back and forth over the past few years, and your journey is a great one, man. And I love seeing it and hearing it.
Thanks, brother.
Thanks for being you, brother.
Appreciate that. I'm having a lot of fun. I hope the audience is having a lot of fun. This is a little bit of a turn for the standard stuff, but again, it's not. This was a spiritually dope podcast. Oh yeah. So, ladies and gentlemen of the Mental Mastery Alliance, thank you again for listening. And in the infamous words of Red Green, keep your stick on the ice.
Thank you for listening to today's Mental Mastery Alliance podcast. Let the team know you're listening by using the hashtag MMA and Mental Mastery Alliance. Want more motivation? Be sure to follow online on Instagram at Mental Mastery Alliance and on Facebook at Mental Mastery Alliance. And remember, your perception creates your reality. Make it a great day.
You got it, Pontiac.